More breaking news out of the NFL. Super Bowl winning quarterback Matthew Stafford and the Rams have come to terms on a 4-year, $160 million extension, with $135 million of that coming in guarantees. This has been confirmed by our Jason Lock-on-4. That means Stafford will be under contract in LA through the 2026 season. Now 34-year-old likely poised to play out the remainder of his career in Los Angeles. Most notably, the structure of the contract is expected to lower Stafford's annual cap hit in the immediate future. As the QB carousel spins, Stafford stays put. For more on the matter, we welcome in CBS Sports senior NFL writer Jonathan Jones. JJ, always one call away as we react to the news Stafford staying put in LA for the long term. Your general reaction is what?
Yeah, it's no surprise. This was very clear that this was going to happen, frankly, even before the Super Bowl victory, but certainly after the Super Bowl victory, when you looked at his cap number, when you looked at what they spent to acquire Matthew Stafford, 2 first-round picks, and sending off Jared Goff, that it was very clear that he ultimately would be in Los Angeles for some time. So you have this deal that it's a reported 4-year, $160 million deal. So essentially he's under contract for 5 more seasons because it's an extension. But in reality, what it really is, he at 34 years old is probably a 3-year deal. And if everyone's happy and they've won another Lombardi after 3 years, they're going to cut that deal up and they're going to make another one. And so that's where we are at right now. Obviously, there would be huge cap hits in the final 2 years that he would be there, and so that's why they would rip it up. But for now, as you mentioned, Joe, it lowers the cap hit for the LA Rams so that they can obviously re-sign the guys that they needed to re-sign already, and then bring in some free agents. We know that they have already inked Allen Robinson to that 3-year deal. That sort of spells the end of Odell Beckham Jr. there, or perhaps a trade of Robert Woods. They're not going to have all 4 of those guys along with Cooper Kupp there. They need some interior offensive linemen as well. They need another outside corner, having lost Darius Williams. And so this contract extension lowers the cap hit to allow the Rams to spend the money under the cap in order to secure those players.
Yeah, they continue to kick that can further down the road, but tomorrow's problems will be dealt with tomorrow. As you pointed to here, the offense in LA, Kupp, Higbee, you add Robinson, Akers going to be full health. It's possibly the most talented offensive group in the NFC right now, with the band breaking up in Green Bay. Stafford's commitment here, long-term wise, free agency has really been the topic of the week. Does this make LA an even more desirable free agency destination?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if the Lombardi wasn't enough, if the glitz and glam of Los Angeles weren't enough, if the incredible team facilities were not enough, Sean McVay and, hey, come to L.A. and we'll take care of you. Now you know who the quarterback is going to be, sort of officially set in stone here for the next several years. And so, yeah, not only that, but we can't overlook, when you talk about, Joe, how much we've been talking about free agency. Most of the free agency talk has been in the AFC. We've all been talking about the AFC loading up, right? Well, now you have a Rams team that didn't just win the NFC, but are world champions, and they continue to load up over there. And so, I know that we always talk Super Bowl odds, and I feel like I've been on here talking about, well, now the Bills are in front, and now the Chiefs are in front, based off of certain moves that have been made throughout this week. I don't think there's any question that the Rams should very well be at the top in the NFC. All due respect to Tom Brady making his comeback there in Tampa, and we're going to see how things shake out with the rest of their free agents. But the Rams are the ones that are wearing the crown, and they're able to, for the most part, as you mentioned, keep the band together. And now you have Matthew Stafford taking less money, getting that cap hit lowered so that they can fill in the gaps. Obviously, they lost Andrew Whitworth to retirement there at left tackle, but getting that interior offensive line, getting that outside corner, finding a punter, because, they released their all-decade punter, Johnny Hecker, who just signed with the Carolina Panthers. They do have some holes. This isn't a team that, let's roll the football out right now, go play, and they'll go win the Super Bowl. However, they now have the space to get the job done, and Les Snead, the general manager there, has shown that he absolutely can get the job done.
What is it, a fifth, a sixth? They have their one pick in this upcoming. Matt Ariza's out there. Do you draft a punter? You get the big leg to flip the field and fill that need. We'll see if that's the direction that they do go here. I do want to talk about Stafford's story for a moment, because a year ago this time, right after the trade, things were starting to look different. But Matthew Stafford for so long was a talent buried under infamy, really, in Detroit. What has this last year meant to his legacy? The Super Bowl, the trade, this extension, just sort of the outlook of the rest of his career.
Yeah, it's huge. And I know that there was a long and large discussion about his Hall of Fame credentials. I thought that even as the whistle blew at zeros and they won the Super Bowl, I knew that conversation was going to happen and take place. Thought it was still a little premature. But all that said, he signed the long-term deal with Detroit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he came in sort of slotted rookie deals, and so he got paid when he first got into the league. I do believe, and then he obviously got that next contract, and now he has this big extension. And as I mentioned earlier, if everything goes well after 3 years, they're going to tear up whatever the final couple years of this deal ultimately would be with major cap hits, and they're going to write him a new deal. What does it mean for his legacy? I think that this positions him to have that Hall of Fame career where there are not going to be questions about whether he ultimately gets a gold jacket 5 or 6 years after he announces his retirement. And again, he's in his mid-30s right now, so this doesn't necessarily mean that this is the last contract he's ever going to sign. We're really not close to that at all when we see what Aaron Rodgers is doing in his late 30s. Obviously, when we see Tom Brady, who's never had a strawberry, what he's doing in his mid-40s, if Matthew Stafford wants to get on the TB12 method, he very well may get 2 more contracts out of the Los Angeles Rams.
I'm more of a blueberry guy myself anyway. We do have to talk about the moves ahead because this is a big box checked, as you said at the outset, for Les Snead. What's the next move LA needs to make?
I would say they need to focus on the interior of their offensive line. Again, Darius Williams just left in free agency, so they do need to target a corner that can be opposite Jalen Ramsey. And listen, I know it's a punter, and so folks don't really care much about punters, but you only care about a punter until you need a punter, right? You don't need a hammer until you need a hammer. Well, they've had a hammer there at the punter position with Johnny Hecker, an all-decade punter, who they cut for cap reasons, and he signed a big deal with the Carolina Panthers. And so I would say that those are the 3 main areas of concern right now for the LA Rams, especially understanding that they're not going to be picking very highly in the draft. That is what they have been doing for the last couple of years, and it obviously has paid off. But here, as we sort of enter in the 3rd wave of free agency, look for them to target those 3 areas specifically. Our
guy Jonathan Jones glowing on the heels of a big Tar Heels win. We appreciate you stopping by and all the insight on Matthew Stafford. Thanks. All right, here's a look, as Jonathan Jones alluded to, at those updated odds to win the Super Bowl. These numbers, as always, courtesy of our friends at Caesars Sportsbook. The Rams coming in at 12-1, 5th shortest odds as they look to go back-to-back, which has not been done since those Pats dynasties. They are shorter than the Niners, the Broncos, Chargers, trailing just the Packers, the Bucks, Chiefs, and your odds-on favorite, the Bills, at 7-1.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.